Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine, for a moment, falling deeply in love with someone you've never laid eyes on.
Hmm?
Someone whose face you can only, imagine, whose touch you've never felt. It sounds like a premise straight out of a rom-com, or maybe
Yeah.
a psychological thriller.
Totally. Or both, depending on the couple, again.
Exactly. But for millions, it's appointment television. And it asks that age-old question, is love truly blind?
It really does put it to the test, doesn't it?
Our deep dive today is all about Love is Blind. You know, that Netflix phenomenon that has truly taken the world by storm?
Oh, yeah. Everyone talks about it.
It's this social experiment that makes you wonder, could I do that?
Right.
For 5 years now, it's captivated audiences, sparking national conversations, endless memes.
And actual Love is Blind babies, real families starting from this crazy premise.
It really has just taken over the group chat every single season. It's wild.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is how the show takes this really universal human desire, to find a genuine connection, and places it under these incredibly controlled, almost theatrical conditions.
Theatrical is a good word for it.
Yeah, it's this hyper-accelerated dating experience. It tests that very adage, love is blind, in the most literal and honestly intense way imaginable.
Yeah, right.
It forces participants to prioritize emotional and intellectual compatibility way above anything else, at least at the start.
Today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're going behind the scenes, looking at the meticulous rule book these contestants have to follow.
That it is meticulous.
Oh, yeah. And revealing how the producers craft this wild ride to love sight unseen. From the very first audition right up to the day they maybe say, I do, these cast members live under some seriously strict but also kind of fascinating guidelines.
Which raises a really important question, doesn't it? What happens when the pursuit of love is so meticulously engineered? So we'll explore the real constraints, the deliberate choices production makes, and, the unexpected consequences for those brave enough or maybe crazy enough to step into the pods.
Our mission today is basically to give you, the listener, an insider's understanding of the how and the why behind this show's unique design. And of course, the often surprising realities of what these contestants actually go through.
Yeah, the reality behind the reality TV.
Exactly. So let's start the very beginning. How do they even find these people? Because, like you said, it's not just anyone off the street, right?
No, absolutely not.
Chris Collin, the creator and EP, he says the secret to the show's success is choosing the right cast members. But what does right even mean in this context?
Well, a crucial aspect here is the show's #1 criterion. Contestants must be genuine about who they are and what they're looking for in a relationship.
Okay.
They need to be actively seeking love, not just, their 5 minutes of fame.
Right, the classic reality TV trap.
Exactly. And this initial casting is absolutely crucial. It really sets the baseline for whether the whole experiment can even function as it's supposed to.
Or if it just becomes another show about people trying to get famous.
Precisely. And the challenge is huge.
Yeah.
How do you truly screen for that authenticity? Especially now, when reality TV offers such instant fame. It's a tough ask.
That makes perfect sense. You absolutely need people who are truly invested in the premise from the start. I remember Mark Cuevas from season 1. He was actually scouted through his Instagram account, apparently.
Oh, interesting. So not always a traditional application.
Right. And he, like a lot of others, had no idea what to expect when they showed up to audition. So it's not always like they hunted down the show, but the producers are very upfront about the sight unseen format right from the beginning.
And that upfront communication about the format itself acts as a deliberate filter.
Ah, okay.
It effectively weeds out people who aren't genuinely open to the whole experiment. And the application process itself, it can be quite lengthy, pretty arduous, actually.
I heard about this.
Yeah, Daniel from season 8, for instance, mentioned filling out an 80-page application.
80 pages. Wow.
Right. That's a significant barrier to entry. It really shows the show's commitment to finding serious participants. People willing to put in the effort and really explore the premise.
Yeah, you're not filling that out on a whim.
Definitely not. It signals to potential contestants that this isn't just some casual thing. It immediately differentiates those genuinely looking for a connection from those just, chasing the spotlight for a bit.
An 80-page application, that alone probably weeds out most people who aren't absolutely serious. It's clear they're hunting for true believers in the love is blind philosophy right from the get-go.
They have to be.
Okay, so once they find these genuine hopefuls, they put them in the iconic pods. And this is where it gets really interesting, because these pods, They aren't just literal walls, are they?
No, not at
They're
all.
like this whole engineered experience designed specifically to isolate and, well, amplify feelings.
That's a great way to put it. Delving deeper into this, the pods are described as indispensable to the show's whole package.
Right.
They are intentionally designed to be comfortable and conducive to conversation, allowing people to get cozy with each other.
Okay, comfortable sounds nice.
But the real genius, I think, lies in their psychological impact. By removing all external visual stimuli and creating this almost sensory-deprived environment. Well, the show aims to create a more pure form of connection.
Burr connection, okay.
But, and this is the flip side, this artificial intensity can also dramatically accelerate pre-existing emotional patterns.
Yeah.
For better, or sometimes for worse.
Right. And when they say no distractions, they really mean no distractions. The pods are roughly 12 feet by 12 feet, something like that.
Yeah, about that size.
Yeah.
And there are 20 pods in total, 10 for the men, 10 for the women, completely separate wings.
And that separating wall, it's fully opaque, right, but with a shimmer. What's that about?
Yeah, that shimmer is a very deliberate choice. It prevents contestants from seeing shadows or even knowing the other person's exact position in their pod.
Whoa, so you can't even tell if they're standing up or sitting down.
Pretty much. It's not just a wall.
Yeah.
The producers intended it to become this living, breathing presence in the conversation itself. It forces all focus onto the voice.
Wow.
And each pod is also completely soundproof. Communication happens solely through a small speaker in the front wall.
Just a speaker, so no ambient noise, nothing.
Nothing. And this total lack of visual and, direct auditory input profoundly impacts the contestants. It forces them to engage on a much deeper non-physical level.
Relying entirely on voice, tone, the conversation itself.
Exactly. And the specific design choices, from that shimmering opaque wall to the glass roof, which lets participants look up and, daydream.
Daydream, huh?
Yeah. It all suggests this deliberate attempt to foster relevance, introspection, and maybe create a safe space for extreme vulnerability, free from the judgments we often make based on initial physical attraction.
They even have that glass roof. And the studios themselves are apparently 40 feet high.
Yeah, huge ceilings.
Allowing contestants to look up, maybe feel less claustrophobic, and just focus purely on their emotions and connections. Like Chris Cullen said, the goal is just no distractions. And for season 1, these pods were built and filmed at Pinewood, now Trilith Studios down in Atlanta, on a stage, get this, larger than the ones used for Marvel Avengers movies.
No way.
Yes, a reality dating show taking up more space than Earth's mightiest heroes. That's kind of unbelievable.
That's incredible. And it shows the investment, right?
Yeah.
And this isn't just a one-off setup either. The standardized design of these pods is remarkably portable.
Portable pod.
Well, yeah. For season 2, even though the contestants were all from Chicago,
Right.
the pods were meticulously shipped all the way across the country to Santa Clarita, California.
Wow, they moved the whole set.
They did.
Yeah.
Colin stated that the design ensures that all you're focusing on are your emotions and your connections, in sense. And you're not really thinking about where you are, Atlanta, Chicago, LA, wherever. He basically said, it doesn't matter if I put the pods in Timbuktu, they're the same pods.
Standardized love bubbles.
Pretty much. This meticulous engineering of the environment is the very core of the experiment's ability to strip away those external biases and force that internal focus. It's a literal bubble designed for emotional acceleration.
Okay, so from these meticulously designed pods, let's move to what actually happens inside them. The core of the experiment, right? The dating gauntlet itself.
The heart of it all.
This entire pod portion of the experiment lasts for just 10 intense days. 10 days. That is such a short window to find forever. It sounds absolutely grueling.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this structured acceleration is really the engine of the whole experiment.
How so?
Well, it compresses months, maybe even years, of traditional dating into just days. This forces vulnerability at an unprecedented pace. It effectively prevents those superficial, dating app-style conversations that often define early connections in the real world.
You don't have time for small talk.
Exactly. Participants are pushed towards deep self-disclosure. But, and this is important, it also fundamentally bypasses the slow, organic trust-building process that's common in most real-world relationships.
Yeah, that slow burn.
Right. So the psychological pressure of a 10-day deadline for a lifetime commitment, it's just immense.
So it's not just endless chatter in there. There's a real progression and a ticking clock. It starts with speed dating, right, where the initial dates are super brief.
Yeah, really brief, lasting around 7 to 15 minutes, with each potential match.
7 minutes.
Just enough time to talk to everyone initially. And you imagine trying to gauge fundamental compatibility, let alone a future, in under 15 minutes with dozens of people? It's intense.
No kidding, then what?
Well, as connections start to deepen, the contestants make the decisions themselves about who they want to spend more time with.
Okay, so they get some control.
Yes, the number of people they see gets shorter, but the date lengths extend dramatically, from maybe 30-minute dates to 2 or 3 hours, and even some marathon sessions lasting 4 or 5 hours.
4 or 5 hours talking to someone you can't see.
Yep. This rapidly escalating structure just compresses that initial phase of relationship building, and the producers schedule these dates based on mutual interest, but, and this is key, contestants are not told who's waiting in the adjoining pod.
Ah, so it's always a surprise who you're talking to next.
It can be,
Yeah.
which can lead to some surprisingly awkward moments. Remember Shane in Chicago?
Oh, God, yes. Mistaking Natalie for Shayna.
Exactly. In episode 1 of his season, simply based on her voice, it shows how much relies on just that one sense.
That Shane mix-up was truly iconic television. And apparently the longest reported pod session lasted a whopping 5 hours.
5 hours straight.
Yep. Ending only because someone physically needed a bathroom break. It just shows the intensity. 10 days to find your soulmate and get engaged. It really is an emotional pressure cooker.
And Colin describes this whole process as basically 10 days of 247 intensive therapy.
Therapy, huh?
Yeah, where participants claim to know multiple people better than they've ever known anyone else, better than they know their parents, their siblings.
That's a huge claim. Better than their own family.
It is. But it speaks to that kind of intense, accelerated bonding that's really unique to the show. It's like this psychological crucible designed to forge deep connections by eliminating all the usual filters and distractions of modern dating.
But does it last?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It definitely raises questions about whether such rapid intimacy is sustainable once that bubble bursts and the real messy outside world rushes back in.
Right. Okay, so 10 days to find your soulmate, get engaged. But what about the rules of engagement itself? They always say no one has to get engaged.
They emphasize that.
But if you don't, your journey just ends right there.
Yeah.
That feels like a lot of implied pressure to put a ring on it, literally. It's kind of a fascinating paradox.
It really is. What's truly fascinating here is that tension between participant, autonomy, what they say the contestants have, and the actual structural design of the show.
Yeah.
Colin stated that contestants have the final word on pretty much everything and are explicitly not forced to get engaged or married.
Okay.
However, to keep seeing their partners and actually continue the experiment, they must get engaged.
Ah, there's the catch.
Exactly. It creates this powerful, maybe unspoken incentive to propose, if they want their leads on the show, the experience, to continue.
Huh.
Cullen himself even admitted his biggest fear for season 1 was that nobody would get engaged.
Wow, so the proposals are crucial.
They're fundamental to the show's entire premise working. Without them, there's no second act.
And if they do choose to propose, the show even provides the engagement ring. Up to a point.
Yeah, up to a certain level, as they put it, with apparently 10 or 12 different styles and colors for the men to choose from.
Huh. So it's like a curated proposal experience. They remove yet another real-world hurdle buying the ring for these rapidly forming relationships.
Indeed. The provision of a ring by the show and the whole structure leading up to that proposal moment undoubtedly influences a contestant's decision. It smooths the path.
Makes sense.
And this contrasts sharply with some other reality shows where maybe the marriage isn't legally enforced. Here, if they choose to go through with the wedding on the show.
Which is only a few weeks later.
Right. Those wedding ceremonies are legally binding.
Whoa, really legally binding?
Yes, which adds all the more pressure on contestants to be absolutely sure when they say, I do. This significantly elevates the stakes. It transforms it from just entertainment into a profound personal and legal commitment.
Yeah, no take-backsies.
Exactly. And we've seen the real divorces from previous seasons, like the 2 from season 2 that had to be handled legally.
Right.
It's a truly high-stakes gamble they're making.
Okay, on top of the dating pressure, the engagement pressure, the legal marriage pressure, imagine doing all of this without your phone or the internet.
Ugh, can you imagine?
No phones, no internet, no Netflix. Talk about a digital detox. It sounds brutal, just complete isolation, but maybe also incredibly clarifying. For figuring out what you truly want in a partner, it strips away all the modern-day distractions we're so used to.
It really does. And this raises an important question. Does stripping away all these modern comforts actually create a more pure form of connection? Does it let people focus exclusively on emotional depth?
Mhm.
Or does it simply amplify existing emotional states,
Yeah.
potentially leading to these accelerated, maybe sometimes unstable bonds that just, well, that might not withstand the reintroduction of the outside world?
That's the core question, isn't it?
It is. Cast members are completely cut off from the outside world during that whole pod phase. I mean, zero access to the internet,
Hmm.
no cell phones for most of the show, and they couldn't even watch television or binge on their favorite Netflix shows. Total isolation.
So what do? Stare at the walls. To fill that void, apparently, books were one of the only forms of entertainment allowed.
Right, books and journaling.
Jessica Batten from season 1 famously kept a journal, right? Noting that time seemed to move so slowly on set. I can only imagine how slowly time must tick when you're that isolated, just waiting for your next date.
Absolutely. And this extreme isolation, it forces contestants to get vulnerable right away because, frankly, there's nothing else to distract them.
Nowhere to hide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mark Cuevas called the experience the Vulnerability Express.
Ah, that's good.
And he highlighted that the male contestants, perhaps surprisingly to some, really supported each other during this tumultuous time.
That's interesting. You don't always think about the group dynamic on the guy's side.
Right. But this communal support among the same-sex contestants, like the men counseling each other or the women forming what Lawrence B. called a sisterhood, it suggests this unexpected, maybe positive side effect of this intensely isolated environment.
Like a shared trauma bond, almost.
Sort of. It's almost a form of shared emotional processing, a collective journey through a really unique high-pressure experience.
And it's not just books and journaling, right? Producers actually facilitate an environment where participants are encouraged to bring in any mementos.
Yeah, like personal items.
Like Kyle bringing his mother's engagement ring to the pods in season 2. That was a big moment.
Mm-hmm. Very significant for his storyline.
Or they could request activities, like games. I remember Mel's Never Have I Ever game in season 1.
Yeah, or specific meals to enhance their date experience.
Yeah.
Kenny Barnes apparently enjoyed his Baileys and coffee. Kelly opted for a ketogenic diet.
Keto in the pods. Okay.
And Lauren and Cameron famously bonded over Hennessy and the story of the tree.
Ah, yes, the Hennessy. The show really does seem to listen to those special requests, trying to make it feel like a genuine, if highly unusual, date.
And these seemingly small allowances are probably strategically important.
Mm-hmm.
They contribute to contestant well-being, their willingness to engage.
Keeps them happy, keeps them talking.
Right. It potentially subtly influences their overall positive experience, even within the experiment's strict constraints. It maintains a little bit of normalcy and individual agency in what is otherwise a highly controlled environment.
Makes sense.
But at its core, it's clear the focus is just on raw, unfiltered emotional connection, free from all those typical modern distractions and external influences.
Okay, so moving beyond the pods themselves,
Mm-hmm.
the living arrangements, that's another huge part of the experiment. And for season 1, it sounds like it was basically extreme sleepaway camp.
Oh, definitely.
Male and female cast members live totally separately, of course, with entirely different teams of producers to assist the men and women kept completely apart.
Yeah, the separation is key. And what's fascinating here is that fine line production walks between creating this intense, transformative experience
Right.
and also ensuring contestant welfare.
Yeah.
Because those initial living arrangements, they were intentionally designed to impact contestant psychology.
And so, what was season 1 like?
Well, during season 1, contestants were apparently forced to sleep in trailers on what were described as correctional facility beds.
Correctional facility beds. Seriously.
That's the description used. It was reportedly an explicit design choice by producers to strip us down from our comfort level.
Wow. So make them uncomfortable to drive them towards connection in the pods.
That seems to be the implication. Create an environment of discomfort that might further lower defenses and encourage bonding.
Man, Kenny Barnes reported averaging only about 4 hours of sleep per night and filming for 18 to 20 hours a day during those first 4 days.
Brutal.
That is absolutely brutal. The sleep deprivation alone would be enough to make anyone crack or maybe fall in love faster.
It certainly affects emotional states. Jessica Batten compared the experience to living in a sorority house.
Right, with the women bonding quickly, forming that sisterhood. They even did group twerk classes and had pool time, apparently.
Mm-hmm. And Kenny noted the guys engaged in things like plank competitions, cooked together and went for runs, just to keep busy in between those intense pod dates.
Filling the time.
Exactly. And this combination of sleep deprivation and that communal sort of sorority frat house living, definitely affects emotional states. It often leads to heightened emotions, rapid bonding, and this real urgency to connect in the pods.
When your comfort levels are stripped away and you're chronically underslept, yeah, emotional defenses probably just plummet.
They tend to. However, starting in season 2, things changed. Sleeping arrangements were upgraded to hotel rooms,
Ah, an upgrade.
a significant one. But producers were still chaperoning contestants to and from the pods.
To make sure they didn't accidentally bump into their potential fiancé.
Exactly, to assure they didn't accidentally sneak a peek of their potential love interest. This evolution in sleeping arrangements really highlights that ongoing negotiation between maintaining the experiment's intensity and addressing contestant welfare.
While still meticulously preserving the core premise, sight unseen connections.
Precisely. They go to great lengths to prevent any pre-reveal visual contact.
So they upgraded to hotels after season 1. That definitely sounds like a good move for contestant well-being. But still, a fun fact, apparently there are no bathrooms in the pods themselves.
Really? Where do they go?
If you need to go, you have to make a trip back to the lounges where the restrooms are located off the gym area.
Huh. I guess they really want you to earn that bathroom break and keep you focused on the conversation for as long as possible.
Maybe so. Maximize pod time.
And despite that intense schedule, participants are given considerable autonomy within the pod structure itself.
Oh, yeah. How?
Contestants are allowed to visit the pods whenever they want and stay as long as they choose, even, reportedly, until 3 in the morning.
3 a.m. pod dates.
And the pods are kept fully stocked with drinks both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, 24/7.
Drinks on tap.
Yeah. This flexibility allows them to really maximize their connection time. It reinforces the idea that participants are driving their own journey and pace, even within the strict confines of the experiment. It's a deliberate balance, structured environment, but participant agency within it.
Okay, so we've covered the strict environment, the pods, the living situation. But what about the producer's direct influence on the conversations? They always say producers don't have any control over what happens inside the pods,
Right.
and that they won't ever tell them what to say, what to do, how to think, how to feel. Even Nick and Vanessa Lachey are apparently not allowed to give advice.
Mm-hmm. That's the official line. But this raises that important question again about the authenticity of reality TV, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where exactly is the line between facilitating an experiment and actually influencing its outcomes?
Yeah, it feels blurry.
While direct coaching seems to be forbidden, Colin states they don't coach the conversations, meaning contestants have to figure out what they want to talk about themselves. The degree of non-interference is definitely nuanced.
But wait, so they can't tell them what to say, but they can give them talking points and bring them specific snacks. That feels like a subtle but pretty significant difference in non-interference.
It is subtle, yeah.
Season 2's Sal Perez mentioned receiving talking points if they needed them. How much can a simple list of topics really influence these deep, emotional conversations they're supposed to be having?
Well, that's precisely the fascinating point. Producers do help facilitate needs to make it feel like dating. So, for example, if someone requested an Italian dinner, they would arrange that.
Okay, dinner's nice.
And Kyle Abrams, also from season 2, added that these talking points were useful if there was, a lull in conversation.
Filling the silence.
Right. And these topics could be pretty broad, like finances or values, or they could be really specific, like sex day.
Wait, sex day? Seriously?
Yep. Season 5 star Izzy Zapata revealed that was a thing. A day where they were prompted to discuss things like kinks, lights on, or lights off.
Wow. Okay, that would definitely spark some conversation.
You'd think so. So while they don't script the dialogue, guiding the topics of conversation can certainly direct the emotional trajectory of the relationships. It ensures certain milestones or crucial discussions get covered within that really tight 10-day time frame.
Making sure they hit the important stuff before proposing.
Exactly. It's about setting the stage for those deep discussions without explicitly scripting what they say. It creates a curated, yes, but still arguably real experience for them.
Sex day sounds like it would definitely fill any lull in conversation. It's interesting how those seemingly small allowances, like the custom snacks or the specific date themes, contribute to contestant well-being and their willingness to keep engaging. It probably makes the whole artificial setup feel a bit more organic for the participants themselves.
It's a very nuanced role the producers play. They're constantly balancing the needs of the experiment getting compelling television with the well-being of the participants.
Mm.
By offering these seemingly minor forms of support, they create an environment where participants are more likely to stay engaged, open up, and, crucially for the show, continue providing that compelling content.
Right.
So these provisions, while not direct coaching, definitely shape the conditions under which these connections are formed and tested.
Okay, now let's talk money. Because even in this intense quest for love, financial realities loom large, especially when it comes to the wedding planning phase.
Oh yeah, the real world comes crashing back in.
So Netflix pays for the wedding, but not all of it. That sounds like yet another layer of financial pressure testing the relationship. Even before the big day, it's like a real-world stressor built right into the back end of the experiment.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here is how these financial considerations, which are often a major stressor in real-world relationships, are integrated directly into the experiment itself.
How does that work?
Well, while the show is structured to pay for the wedding basics, it apparently didn't cover the entire cost. Each couple that actually made it to the altar was expected to fund their own nuptials beyond a certain point.
Ah, okay. So basics covered, extras are on them.
Pretty much. This can reveal underlying values and potential friction points really early on. For instance, the event stylist Slamik Haurillo confirmed the show sticks to a budget, only billing couples for particular things they really want.
Like a specific dress.
Exactly. Which apparently caused some friction between Amber Pike and Matt Barnett back in season 1 over the cost of her wedding dress.
Oh, I remember that. That argument was memorable. It really highlighted that even in this grand TV experiment, those everyday financial stresses definitely creep in.
It brings financial compatibility or incompatibility right to the surface very quickly.
And while it's often stated that people didn't sign up for Love is Blind to make money,
The official line.
there's apparently speculation on places like Reddit about contestants receiving some payment, maybe to cover back home expenses while they're filming, and potentially even handsome bonuses for those who progress further in the show.
Right, which highlights the various potentially conflicting motivations that might drive contestants through the whole process.
Love and maybe a little bonus.
Possibly. While the primary stated goal is finding love, the reality of reality TV often includes financial incentives, however unspoken they might be. This contrasts with that official narrative of no money incentive, making the underlying motivations of participants a bit more complex, perhaps.
Yeah.
The pursuit of genuine connection might absolutely coexist with practical considerations for their time, their effort, and the disruption to their lives.
Okay, so it's not just the money that's real, but the I-do's themselves? That's still wild to me, and no faking it till you make it here. These are real, legally binding marriages.
Yep, full stop.
That is just a huge commitment to make to someone you literally just met, sight unseen, a few weeks prior. It feels like much higher stakes than most other dating shows out there.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it profoundly validates the show's premise as a serious social experiment, not just pure entertainment.
Right, it gives it weight.
Couples who choose to marry on the show had to agree to legally bind themselves together.
Yeah.
That adds, as we said, all the more pressure on contestants to be sure when they said, I do. The show is completely real in that sense.
And the divorces prove it.
Exactly. The divorces, like those from season 2, had to be handled legally through official channels, incurring real-world costs and emotional consequences. This adds that crucial layer of consequence and authenticity that many reality shows lack. It proves that Love is Blind truly can lead to I do, for better, or sometimes, yeah, for worse.
It's fascinating how serious that commitment is, especially since they can't even see each other until after the proposal. But what about once they're out of the pods and thrust into the real world? It seems like it's not totally blind to geography once they're out.
Yes. The practicalities kick in.
Makes sense for the real world part of the show, but it's a practical detail you might not immediately think about.
It really raises an important question, doesn't it? While the pods meticulously remove those physical barriers and distractions, the immediate reintroduction of geographical practicality reminds us of the persistent challenges and considerations in any relationship, whether it started blind or not.
So what's the rule there?
Creator Chris Killen made what he called a purely practical decision from a production standpoint. They cast contestants who lived in the same city, or at least in very close proximity.
Ah, okay. So season 1, everyone was from Atlanta. Other seasons focused on Chicago, Seattle, Minneapolis, Denver.
Exactly. This ensures that distance would pretty much be the one obstacle these contestants didn't have to deal with once they leave the pods.
Takes one major hurdle off the table.
Right. It allows them to focus on the other, already immense challenges of integrating their newfound relationship into their daily lives. Jobs, families, friends, living situations.
Makes logistical sense for filming, too, I bet.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And sometimes they'll expand that radius just slightly for casting purposes. For example, for the Seattle season, they apparently included Portland, which is about a 2-hour drive away, just to open up that aperture of casting and expand the pool of potential participants.
okay. A 2-hour drive isn't too bad, relatively speaking.
No, but this decision fundamentally streamlines that whole real-world phase of the experiment. It prevents immediate long-distance relationship challenges that could easily derail the success of these newly formed couples. It shows that calculated approach to minimizing external factors once the visual aspect is finally introduced, giving the couples the best possible chance to actually integrate and maybe make it work.
Okay, so they've passed the right people, put them in the pods, guided their experience, maybe facilitated some snacks, overseen legally binding weddings. But what about the story that gets told to the world? The editing.
Ah, yes. The magic, or maybe the manipulation of editing.
It's wild to think about how much footage they must have. Hundreds, thousands of hours. And how it gets shaped into the episodes we see. Like that Jessica and Mark story in season 1, both she and Mark later said it wasn't quite what it seemed through the lens of the camera.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the inherent, unavoidable challenge of all reality television. It's a meticulously curated reality, isn't it? Not a direct, unedited feed of life.
Definitely not.
Critical thinking is absolutely essential here. Questioning whether the presented narrative fully aligns with the lived experiences of the participants is key, especially when certain moments are highlighted for drama or other moments are completely omitted.
And they have so much footage. Producers were initially worried they wouldn't have enough content.
Or really, at the start.
Yeah, but they actually ended up with too much. Apparently there were 8 engagements in season 1 when they were only prepared for maybe up to 5.
8. Wow, so some couples got cut entirely.
Exactly. Contestants agree to have their stories featured, but they also have to accept that their footage might not be used. Rory and Danielle's story and engagement, for example, didn't even make the final cut for season 1.
Despite them actually getting engaged in the pods.
Yep. That's a lot of a person's life, their emotional journey that just vanishes, never sees the light of day, presumably because it didn't fit the overall narrative the producers wanted to tell that season.
That really highlights the immense power of editing and narrative construction in reality TV. The editing in season 1, for instance, really hyped up the fact that Jessica was interested in Barnett.
Oh yeah, the Barnett drama.
And it made it seem like that was the main reason things didn't work out with Mark. But that's a narrative both Mark and Jessica later denied, claiming they just weren't compatible and that the show focused heavily on that specific angle.
So the edit can create a whole different story.
It absolutely can. It demonstrates how editing can powerfully shape public perception, create specific storylines, heroes, villains, and even potentially misrepresent contestant intentions or the dynamics of their relationships. It's that constant tension between trying to provide authentic documentation and needing to craft compelling television.
And they even control tiny details at the end.
Apparently so. Producers also like to decide which order they say their I do's in at the wedding ceremony,
Why would they do that?
presumably to subtly control the dramatic buildup and the emotional payoff for the viewers, sequencing the yes or no answers for maximum impact.
Wow. Okay. And on top of the editing shaping the story during the show, there's the intense secrecy after the show wraps.
Oh, the NDAs, yes.
Imagine being engaged or even secretly married and not being able to tell anyone, not your best friend, not your parents, for potentially over a year.
It's almost unimaginable.
That's next level secrecy and pressure that feels almost impossible in our hyper-connected world today. Since Love is Blind is filmed in advance, sometimes way in advance, contestants are forced to keep their relationship or lack thereof on the down low even after the show concluded.
And what's truly fascinating, or maybe concerning, here's the trade-off contestants make. The potential for finding love or just having this unique experience comes at this significant cost. The loss of immediate personal freedom and access to their typical social support systems.
Right when you probably need them most.
Exactly. They are forbidden from filling their friends and families in on what was happening. They cannot share any updates on social media about engagements, breakups, or any other spoilers for over a year, sometimes up to a year and a half after filming actually wraps.
A year and a half. That is an absolute eternity in the world of social media where everything feels instantly shared. The psychological toll of maintaining that level of secrecy must be immense.
It must be. It profoundly impacts the early stages of a real relationship or real breakup when you can't share it with your normal support system or process it publicly. It could lead to increased stress, isolation, all sorts of issues.
Even wedding guests apparently have to sign an appearance release and can't bring their phones to the wedding, all to prevent any spoilers from leaking out before the show airs.
They lock it down tight.
Okay.
Furthermore, there is a reported $50K fine for anyone who leaves before their filming is over.
$50,000.
That's the reported figure. And this adds a really complex layer. It potentially forces contestants. Irina in season 4 was cited as an example as someone who might have stayed longer than she wanted because of this.
Ah, okay.
It might force them to continue filming despite lacking a genuine connection or being deeply unhappy, prioritizing their contractual obligations and avoiding that significant financial penalty over their personal well-being or their true feelings.
That puts participants in a really difficult, potentially damaging position. It highlights the powerful leverage the production company holds over their lives for a really extended period.
It certainly does. It's a significant commitment beyond just the emotional one.
Okay, so after all that, the casting, the pods, the rules, the editing, the secrecy, what does this all mean for us, the viewers? This show, with all its meticulous rules and intense experiences, it really does act as a kind of mirror to the dating world, doesn't it?
In a way, yes. A very specific high-pressure mirror.
It's like a hyper-compressed version of real dating, forcing those big, sometimes really uncomfortable conversations that you might usually avoid for months, maybe even years in a normal relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Love is Blind becomes this fascinating, albeit highly artificial, case study in human communication and relationship dynamics.
Yeah.
It forces real-life issues and conversations that are happening in the real world to play out rapidly on screen, largely because of the incredibly high stakes of that impending marriage deadline.
Things like,
Well, crucial discussions about birth control, like we saw with Johnny and Amy, navigating issues of infidelity, like Clay's past struggles, or understanding complex things like attachment styles, which Alex and Madison explored before their split. These deep topics surface immediately.
and that lack of visual cues in the pods, it just dramatically amplifies the importance of tone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And pure verbal communication. It feels like misinterpretations must be so much more likely.
They definitely can be. Contestants learn they have to get deep right away because, as one put it, if you're not talking about that deep, intimate stuff, then there's no point in coming back for another date.
Time to waste.
Right. It really illustrates the critical importance of clarity, directness, and very active listening when all those nonverbal cues we normally rely on are completely absent.
It shows how quickly people can assess compatibility, maybe, when all the usual distractions are removed and they're forced to truly hear each other.
Exactly. This accelerated and isolated environment forces those difficult, often avoided conversations to happen quickly. It makes the show a really powerful, if dramatic, tool for understanding communication breakdowns, the rapid building of trust, and how quickly underlying issues in relationships can surface under pressure.
And speaking of communication breakdowns, oh boy, the show is also an absolute goldmine for case studies and red flags and deal breakers.
Plenty of those.
Oh, the drama. But seriously, these moments, the villain moments, the messy breakups, the incredibly awkward interactions, they're actually teaching us real-world lessons, aren't they? About what to look for, maybe what to run from in our own relationships.
They can be, yes, but it also raises an important question. How much of what we see is genuinely amplified by the unique pressure cooker of the experiment itself, and how much is just a raw, unfiltered display of pretty universal relationship challenges?
Good point. Is it the situation or the person?
It's probably a bit of both, but it's definitely a vivid reminder to evaluate compatibility and potential red flags thoroughly before making a major commitment. And maybe more importantly, to understand that a partner's willingness to work on issues, rather than just identifying them, is absolutely paramount.
Okay, let's break down some examples, because the show provides so many.
It really does offer a crucial collection of lessons for the discerning listener or viewer.
Okay, take Clay and AD from season 6. Clay's openly confessed pre-existing issues around infidelity.
His fear of commitment.
Ultimately led to his devastating altar rejection by AD. That was tough to watch.
It really was. And it powerfully illustrates how unaddressed past traumas or these deeply ingrained insecurities can absolutely sabotage even seemingly strong initial connections. It's that vivid reminder that just identifying a red flag is only the first step.
Right, knowing isn't enough.
A partner's genuine willingness to work on those foundational issues, rather than just acknowledging them, is paramount for a lasting bond. Clay's inability or unwillingness to truly commit to change, even when facing an ultimatum at the altar, well, it demonstrated a clear limit to his readiness for marriage at that time.
Okay, then there's the infamous Jessica Batten and Mark Cuevas from season 1.
Ah, yes, a classic.
Jessica consistently brought up their age gap. Who could forget Jessica, 34, Mark, 24, and exhibited what many viewers saw as clear self-sabotage, including that truly bizarre moment of feeding her dog wine on camera.
Right. That moment became iconic for all the wrong reasons. And it highlights how deep-seated insecurities and patterns of self-sabotage can really manifest under pressure, often presenting as inconsistency or maybe a lack of genuine effort in the relationship.
Her focus on the age gap felt relentless.
It did. Jessica's repeated focus on the age gap, despite Mark's apparent clear interest and commitment at the time, almost became a self-fulfilling prophecy. It demonstrated how our own internal barriers can sometimes derail potential connections, almost regardless of the external circumstances or the other person's actions.
Okay, another one. Chelsea and Jimmy from season 6. Chelsea's insecurity, which seemed amplified after her whole Megan Fox comparison comment.
Oh yeah, that caused a stir.
It really contributed to distrust regarding Jimmy's close female friends, didn't it? Even when he seemed, at least on camera, pretty transparent about his past relationships and friendships.
Yeah, that was a complex dynamic, and it serves as a really vital lesson in trust and communication, especially when it comes to navigating platonic friendships within a romantic relationship.
Tricky territory.
Very. While a partner's feelings of insecurity are absolutely valid and need to be acknowledged, true compatibility also requires a willingness to trust and communicate effectively. Rather than allowing insecurity to constantly dictate boundaries or create conflict, especially when transparency seems to exist.
So Jimmy's honesty kind of got overshadowed.
It seemed like it. It was overshadowed by Chelsea's internal struggle, which highlights the importance of individual self-work within a relationship. Sometimes the issue isn't the external situation, but the internal reaction to it.
The show just provides so many examples. Laura and Jeremy from season 6. Jeremy hanging out late at night for hours with an ex and is out until 5 a.m., even though he was sharing his location. That was cited by many as a major deal breaker.
Oh, absolutely. That's almost a textbook example of boundary testing, maybe even passive-aggressive behavior and just a fundamental lack of consideration.
Even sharing the location didn't make it okay.
Not really. While sharing location might seem transparent on the surface, the act of staying out until 5 a.m. with an ex demonstrates a pretty fundamental disregard for a partner's feelings and the established trust of a new, serious relationship. It signals a deeper issue, maybe with commitment or respect for boundaries.
Or maybe, like some people said, he kind of wanted to get caught.
That's often the interpretation. It suggests a subtle desire to force a confrontation or a conversation they're perhaps unwilling to initiate directly.
Yeah.
It puts the onus on the partner to react.
Okay, what about Leo from season 7? His incessant talking about how rich they are, but also constantly worrying about someone taking advantage of him. That felt like a red flag, too.
Yeah, that was viewed by many as a significant deal breaker, likely stemming from deep insecurity.
How so?
Well, it illustrates how financial anxieties, or sometimes a performative display of wealth, can actually be a symptom of deeper insecurities about one's self-worth, beyond just material possessions. Constantly bringing up money in a way that implies distrust can really poison a relationship.
Because it suggests you can't trust anyone.
Exactly. It reveals a fear of vulnerability, maybe, or an inability to form genuine connections independent of financial status. It's often a projection of one's own fears of exploitation onto others.
Okay, moving to maybe more subtle ones. Kenneth and Brittany from season 6. Kenneth apparently kept waking Brittany up at night when she has an early morning shift at 5 a.m. the next morning.
Seems small, maybe.
Yeah, seems minor, but it was seen as an inconsiderate red flag.
And rightly so, potentially, because that seemingly minor action can point to a larger red flag. Basic inconsideration and maybe a lack of empathy for a partner's needs and commitments.
Like not respecting her sleep or her job.
Right. True compatibility involves understanding and respecting each other's lives, schedules, and general well-being. Repeated small acts of inconsideration, even if unintentional, can really erode a relationship over time. They can highlight a deeper issue of self-centeredness or just cluelessness.
Okay, Tim and Alex from season 6. Alex taking a nap on the day your parents come a long way to see you. That sparked a lot of debate online.
Oh yeah, the nap debate.
It highlighted differences in family priorities and, again, maybe consideration.
It really did. It demonstrates how quickly fundamental differences in values, particularly around family and social obligations, can surface under the pressure of the experiment. While it might seem trivial to some, maybe he was just tired. Such an action can reveal a potential misalignment in how partners prioritize important relationships and responsibilities.
And that could become a persistent source of conflict in a longer-term partnership if they have different views on family time or hosting.
Exactly. It's about those underlying values.
And finally, Nick and Hannah. Nick, flirting with another person at a party.
This one felt more subjective.
Very subjective. And it's often discussed in terms of how insecurity can drive the conflict much more than the actual act itself.
What's harmless to one person is betrayal to another.
Precisely. It's a classic relationship challenge, interpreting social cues and navigating the role of insecurity. What one person perceives as harmless banter or friendly interaction, another might see as deeply disrespectful or a breach of trust.
So what's the lesson there? It really underscores the critical need for open, honest communication about boundaries and expectations early on. And crucially, for individuals to address their own insecurities, because unresolved issues often amplify external events, turning minor incidents into major conflicts.
Makes sense.
The show consistently reminds us, through all these examples, that identifying issues is one thing, but a partner's willingness to actively work on them, to communicate, to compromise, that's what's paramount for a relationship's potential success.
So, wow. We've gone deep into the fascinating and, yeah, sometimes grueling world behind those pods, beyond the headlines and the memes, into the real nitty-gritty of what makes Love is Blind so incredibly captivating. We've seen how this quest for love, stripped down to its bare essentials in that unique environment, can be both incredibly rewarding and sometimes devastatingly revealing, and how it mirrors so many of the challenges we all face in our own dating lives, just faster and way more intense.
We really have. We've seen how every single element, from the very deliberate design of those soundproof pods to the pressure of legally binding weddings just weeks later, and that intense post-show secrecy, it's all engineered. Engineered to push participants towards profound and hopefully lasting connections.
But also revealing the raw realities.
Exactly. Revealing the raw realities of human relationships when they're put under this unique, intense microscope. It's a truly unique social experiment that provides this dramatic, accelerated look into human connection, communication, and, yeah, conflict.
So after diving into all of this, if you listening right now were truly cut off from everything and everyone in those pods, all distractions totally removed, and you had just 10 days to connect with someone on a purely emotional level, would you trust your gut to find your person? Or do you think the pressure, the cameras, the unique environment might make you say, I do, for reasons you might later regret? It's a tough hypothetical.
It really is.
Yeah.
And perhaps the deeper question for all of us thinking about our own lives outside the pods is this. If we applied just a fraction of the intentionality we see inside the pods, things like deliberately cutting out distractions when we're getting to know someone, asking those deep, important questions early on, and really focusing solely on genuine conversation.
Yeah.
What unexpected, authentic connections might we uncover in our own dating lives? Connections that maybe we're currently missing simply because we're too busy looking at the surface or swiping past.